Shalom. First, I'd give all glory and honor to Yahweh, 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿, double honors to teachers, elders, and apostles of great millstone, likewise brothers, but not the truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep unto brothers and sisters. Tuning in, Shalom. Today's lesson's titled Yahweh, 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿, my refuge and my fortress. And when you think of a refuge, you think of someplace where you would abide, where you would hide. When you think of a fortress, you're thinking of a stronghold, a place for defending. And this is exactly how it's going to be for us in these last days. In the midst of chaos, there's a remnant that is going to trust in Yahweh 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿 for refuge and for a fortress. Let's start off with our first scripture. This is the book of Psalms 10 and verse 5. And it reads, His ways are always grievous, thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Now, for those of you who are in the truth, watching the videos, and you're watching the news, and for you brothers out there being watchmen, we see that this devil, this man, Esau the Edomite, the so-called white man, he's angry. He has the air poison, the food is poison, his medicines are poison. He's now trying to destroy your privacy. And we know this is going to eventually lead into chaos and the implementation of the 𝐉𝐄𝐅𝐿, or the mark of the beast, which is also going to cause war to break out. And everything that's taking place right now on the earth, this is this man being grievous in all his ways. In fact, when we take a look at the word grievous, we can see grievous is an adjective describing something causing severe pain, suffering, sorrow, or a very serious, grave, or atrocious, often used in legal contexts. Example, grievous bodily harm, or to describe profound losses. It signifies an intense, burdensome, or heavy nature derived from Latin roots meaning to burden. And everything that's being done by this wicked man now, the wicked elites, is grievous. And this, as you can see down below, is what people on this earth are experiencing. And this is just the beginning. Let's go into the book of Job 5 and starting with verse 12, because you see the hope of the elect, that remnant, is that we do have a refuge in Yahweh 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿, and we do have a defender, in Yahweh 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿. It reads, He disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, which is their wickedness. We know what this is leading to, this, war out there in Iran or in the Middle East, gas prices going up and down. We know who's benefiting from that. We know, fertilizers is not being produced, and, basically there's a collapse that's coming. But we also know that Esau, despite the fact that he thinks he's in charge of executing these things on the earth, that is going to set him up as the non-questionable authority or the God of this earth, especially when they implement that 𝐉𝐄𝐅𝐿. Yahweh 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿 is in charge. The Most High Yahweh is in charge. Continue, says, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. But he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor had hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. So we have hope. The rest of these people are going to be terrified. They're not going to know what is hitting them. You might see someone walking around now, they're abrasive, they're bold, they're proudful, or they have a lot of pride, and because they got things going good for them. They may have a business, they may have a lot of money, they got a lot of friends, family, everybody's around, and they may perceive you as nothing, or they perceive everybody around them as nothing. That is about to change. That is about to change. But for the elect, let's continue on. Behold, happy is the man whom power corrected. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty. For he makes sore and bindeth up, he wounded, and his hands make whole. So the Lord does good and evil. He can chastise, he can rebuke you. At the same time, he can, make sure everything is good for you. Okay, and he does that for those that he loves. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. So there's going to be famine, and that's the big topic right now about not having the fuel, which the fertilizer, which I guess come from oil, because petroleum makes a lot of things. Plastic, a whole 9 yards. There's a lot of things that petroleum makes. Including fertilizer. Okay, and you don't even have to do a deep search to see the big thing that now is on the minds, of the leaders of some of these nations out there is food shortages. Especially in Great Babylon, America, you take a look at the average person, morbidly obese and sedentary. It's going to be a hard time here. Okay, continuing it says, thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. Why are we going to laugh? Lord willing, we're part of that elect, or that remnant that's going to be in the refuge and in the fortress of 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐅𝐿. It's because we've seen it's coming to pass. What was written is coming to pass. That's why we're going to be happy. We're going to be like, giving glory and honor to you, 𝐉𝐄𝐿. He's making the proud suffer. Okay, he's coming through on his words. He's going to destroy this wicked queendom. He's going to put these people in their place. We're going to be eating. They're going to be starving. They're going to be clashing with each other for food. Everybody's going to turn on each other. All these unbelievers out there. But that remnant, okay, we have a refuge. We have a fortress, a defender. Okay, it says, for thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field should be at peace with thee. And we know the judgments that the Lord 𝐉𝐄𝐿 is going to send on this earth. Have the sword to kill, the famine. Okay, people going to wither to death. Okay, and that's going to be a very painful way to die. You have the beasts of the field. Okay, and newly created beasts, and we know kind of experiments Esau does. You can't imagine the kind of stuff that's going to be let out. Okay, the Lord 𝐉𝐿 is going to allow this devil to open his laboratories of hybrid beasts and let them out there. Things you've never seen before. Okay, not to mention the pestilence. All the diseases and stuff like that. What was the big talk for the last 2 months? Okay, about these spring breakers, mainly Jakes. All contracted these STDs, sexually transmitted disease. Okay, and there's not going to be any cure for them, along with what Esau is going to be putting out there. And the Lord 𝐉𝐿 is the one that's given the green light for this man to do all of these things, to make his will come to pass on this earth. And if you're not in that refuge or in that fortress, in fact, let's go into the book of Psalms 91, starting in verse 1. It reads, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord 𝐉𝐿, he's my refuge and my fortress, my power. In him will I trust. We can't trust in our own self. Isn't it to say that, we might not, we're just going to stand there. You would have to defend yourself, and the Lord is going to put the Spirit in you to walk in the right path, But for the most part, the Lord is going to keep us out of the way of the situation in which we would have to go and be swinging swords left and right and killing people for food and, constantly running for our lives all the time. Yes, we're going to be in the mix of things, but not to that level that these people out here are going to get, because his judgment really is for them. Continuing, it says, surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth should be thy shield and buckler, what's written in this book. We believe it. We see it. This evidence. Brothers are bringing out the video with all the evidence of the MOTB to come out real soon. Okay? We know that they're planning some type of, 9/11 type of event. We know that they're going to blame us for everything. We know some of us are going to get thrown in prison, beheaded. Okay? And we know that. And we believe it. So we're prepared mentally for this. Continue, it says, thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night, nor for the arrow that fly by day, nor the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noon. It's telling you about the terror on this earth. Okay? The terror that's on this earth. And I try to put it in graphics, what you see here. Okay? To just showcase the fact that Yahweh, they're going to defend us. We're going to be defended no matter what. But all around us is just going to be chaos and destruction. Continuing, it says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh to thee. Telling you, it's an expression of the amount of death that you're going to see. You're going to see the smells of dead, decaying bodies, animals, babies, women, old men, young men. It doesn't matter. If you're not in that refuge, and if you're not defended, you're going to be part of this number. It says, only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. And that includes 2/3 of our people that's going to turn to this man for salvation and help. Please help us. We don't care if you used to hang us from trees. We want to be with you. Help us, instead of turning to Yahweh. They don't believe in it because they don't really believe that the God, and the Messiah of the Bible look like them, that we were created in their image. They don't believe it. They just only believe in the image of the so-called white man. Hence, they will worship the image of the beast and they will take that mark. They desire to take it without hesitation. We saw what happened during the scandemic. He said, because thou hast made the Lord, 𝐉𝐄𝐅𝐿, which is my refuge, which is what? The place to be. Protection. Even the Most High, thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. Which is what? We're not going to be making decisions like these other people are going to panic. Going out there fighting for food, trying to get the last, generator, trying to get the last water, the last milk, whatever the case is like that, scrounging and trampling and just the craziness that's just going to go on. They're not going to know how to use wisdom not to trust everybody around them. And as people can become, accustomed to being betrayed and all that stuff, they become so self-absorbed in survival that they basically will destroy anyone that they see with a sword that comes and approach them. So it's going to be a time of great chaos. But, as the hopefully elect, we will trust in Yahweh, who is our refuge and fortress. Lord willing, that was satisfied. Close again on the two. Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash, Shalom.